Hello and welcome to the Daily Conjecture Vlogcast. Today's post is a day late due to me trying to work it out, trying to make sure I fit this into my schedule, make sure I'm posting daily. That working around my schedule with the work I do on the weekends combined with my own procrastination led to me just now posting the next video of this series. So I apologize for that. I wanted to start with just a quick little exercise. This will vary amongst numerous people that may or may not that may see this, depending on what your background is, depending on what you have going in your life right now. But I just wanted to real quick engage in this quick exercise. Imagine yourself having fulfilled all of your basic human needs in whatever moment you're in right now, and whatever your goals are right now, whatever your dreams are. Imagine yourself having met your basic human needs in that you have food, water, shelter, hopefully you have some clothes, at least a decent variety of clothing you can wear within a week's time before you have to go and do laundry again. And you might have one or two close ones, loved ones, family, friends. You have that social connection. You have some of these more basic of human needs met, and then you get to your legal or financial needs, depending on where you are, where you live in the country or in the world. Those may vary. You have those needs met. You've paid rent. You paid bills, and all of your immediate needs are met so that you can live in a sort of regular, kind of standard, comfortable life. So after you've met all of those needs, then the next part of the exercise is what is on your mind at that point in terms of what you want to achieve. What is the first thing that comes to mind is as in the very next thing that you want. Most of us, after we've met all of our basic needs, we've paid bills, everything's good. It might be like on the first of the month, we might be a little bit behind, but we actually manage to, maybe it's a few days after the first, getting later into the first week of the month, we finally paid bills. Maybe we're a little bit late, but we did it. We succeeded. Then what does it look like next for you in the following days and weeks and the rest of that month until the next month comes around to where you have to pay bills again, pay rent again, and so whatever's going through your mind right now, whatever that goal or those goals are, those dreams, if you have a family, people to take care of, if you have kids, hopefully those are the first thing that comes to mind in terms of making sure that they're good. If they're in school, obviously it's the summertime right now, so those of you who are parents out there who are tending to your kids in various extracurricular summer activities, summer camps, different things like that, I commend you for that. Very important part of childhood, being able to develop those social skills amongst their peers and just learning new skills in general, to give them a little bit of a head start toward their adult life. But for those of you who maybe have more personal goals, what do those look like? Do you want to enhance your career? Do you want to maybe go for a promotion? Do you want to possibly even completely change careers? Doing something that is going to fulfill your dream needs, like your goal needs, right? Fulfill those needs in that kind of sense. And then what does that look like? Do you, or what feelings come over you as you start feeling those, having those thoughts and getting those feelings toward your goals? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel motivated, confident? Do you feel nervous, hesitant? As I've already said, for me, someone who, I really do care about kind of elevating myself to the point where I can sort of pull myself out of a more procrastinative nature, something that I've developed over time. As time goes on, sort of got into this kind of daily routine of this is what I need to do to meet my basic needs. I'm working a job, I'm making money, I'm paying bills, and I'm good. At that point, beyond that, there is no, because I don't have an immediate kind of an immediate social circle necessarily. Not anyone that is in particularly going to, sort of push me or anything like that. So at that point, that's where at the end of the day, it is my responsibility for my individual self to pull myself out and to get over those walls, so to speak, those obstacles, which could even, can very well just come in the form of excuses, excuses that we make for ourselves. As I already said, one can get the feeling of that after we've done everything that we need to do to live in the most basic sense, we've eaten, we've drinking, we have at least some kind of shelter, and then some type of clothing items, and then beyond that point, then of course many of us, in the Western world, and of course numerous other places around the world as well, as the race of mankind continues to progress and enhance its technologies that we use every day, and not only that, but how we see these technologies that we use and how that affects us, and maybe even the subconscious or psychological effects it has on us that might not be so evident, that we might not be so quick to see and observe and really just understand how it actually directly affects us. Of course, now, I say now, but within the last 5 to 10 years, as specifically with AI technology, as that's evolved, many people are concerned about the direction that's going, how that's going to affect us in how we use technology, how we integrate that in our human lives, and then what kinds of things go on behind the systems that maybe we don't see, that maybe a programmer or something like, the programmers, the engineers, they have a much better understanding of how some of the behind the scenes things happen. Of course, for YouTube is going to be, the different algorithms, or maybe specifically what algorithm is employed at this current moment that tends to be the most productive for the creators and all of the channels that are on YouTube, which is also very interesting too, because I believe it was a video that I think Media posted. If I'm able to find it and pull it up and put it in the description, then I will make an effort to do that. But in that video, or at least from what I had seen just in the thumbnail, and kind of got a thought going, is times have changed significantly enough within the last few years, with just all of the technology we use as content creators, programmers, designers, engineers. There's been many advancements within the last few years, just alone, and to the point where now, again, specifically with YouTube, it appears that the algorithm is more focused toward, as opposed to like maybe where it was going to be, maybe the algorithm in the past was more looking at how many subscribers and likes, how many actual click oriented or selection oriented response from the viewers through a click or a subscribe. That's a physical response in a way of actually making the click. Now it's looking like it's shifting more toward views, which is simply a duration of how long you watch the movie, and then it will actually take those analytics and it will show you that. You'll be able to see exactly what those are if you go to that part of the in the YouTube studio. So I have a lot to learn, in all things analytics when it comes to YouTube. I'm very interested to see if that is the case, if that actually is how it's playing out, to where it's shifting away from having like a more specific type of physical response in terms of actually subscribing or liking, which, don't get me wrong, is still very beneficial in you growing your channel. But if it's going more toward just simply the viewer consuming that content just by a view, if that tends to be more of a reliable statistic for the algorithm to be able to show you in the analytics how that's going to help grow your channel, or at least give you an idea of what things are looking like in the state that your channel is in now. That's also very interesting to me as well. Again, I have much to learn, and I definitely plan to develop at least this series in a more informative manner, so that I am able to include actual sources and resources for these things that I may be discussing. So whilst overall I may still come at this, some of the things that I talk about with a very opinionated approach, don't take it to heart, too much. Don't take it seriously too much. It might, much of this might just be food for thought. But going into the future, I would very much like to be able to make this, a continuous thing where I'm able to sort of go to these sources and resources to kind of make everything fall together and make sense and be coherent as possible. And so getting into today's video is tagging along to what I believe was the first video of this series, in which I guess it was technically the first long form video. If you're wondering why I'm looking down, is because I'm just looking at my notes here. But was the video of, do you have goals for your dreams, in which I discussed some things. Some of the things in this video might kind of reiterate that or repeat that. I'll try my best not to do that, but just because it is sort of this will be sort of a part 2 of that, in which I have essentially is in the form of, are you working toward your goals? So part 1, do you have goals for your dreams? Part 2, in this video, are you working toward your goals? And of course, that's going to look different for everybody. As I said in the previous video, and a little bit in this one already, is it can vary very differently depending on who are our dependents. Do we have people that we need to take care of? Those things are very realistic things, very normal things that can keep any one of us from reaching some of our goals. I mean, it is very likely, or at least postpone some of the things that we may want to do. That is very realistic. But just from the top here on what I have for today's video, the very first one, in just in a kind of a general sense of how are you spending your time, or how are you spending your free time? And mostly what I think about this is, however you are choosing to spend your free time may or may not be working toward your goals. So it's something to think about. Blocking off your time, depending on how much free time you have, right? You may find that you have only 15 or 30 minutes in any given day, especially those of you that do have families, people to take care of, working a full-time job, coming home, taking care of the kids or the family, anything like that. But for those of you out there who are finding yourself with more free time, and that's kind of an interesting thing too, especially it being in this sort of, I refer to it as a post-COVID era. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know how prevalent or how big or at large COVID still is. Just from what I've seen, I do see people in and out still wearing masks every now and then. Me myself, I've been healthy. I never caught COVID, and so I suppose that's why I refer to it as what may be considered as a post-COVID era, just in terms of how it affected us, in the workplace, how it affected us out of the workplace. Those of us that lost our jobs, right, because of COVID, and then how we managed to come out of that, and what we chose to focus on, and the things that we wanted to do during, and after that sort of experience. Very, very curious to know what some of you experienced. If you'd like to leave a comment, that'd be amazing. And then on that note too, trying to get a feel of how much free time you have is great. That way you can say, well, I have between 15 and 30 minutes between when I get home and making or tending to the family, or if that applies to you, or just in a general sense, if you are on your own, getting home, I have somewhere between 15 minutes and 30 minutes to make dinner, and then just kind of settle in for the rest of the night. And then at that point, it really is up to you. What do you want to do? How do you see that free time? Are you, someone like me who, despite my my bit of procrastinating nature, or at least that trait that has developed in me, it's a negative thing. It's something that I'm actually hoping doing this and actually pushing myself and motivating myself to do this in a more consistent manner, preferably a more daily manner, so I can actually try to see some change. That is my goal. Like within a year's time, see exactly what all I've been able to come out of this. Obviously, this will be very much kind of a segue into the other content that I want to do down the road. It's just a matter of putting those pieces together and having it all come together as efficiently as possible, realistically as possible, and of course financially as well. And as I've already stated, my own weaknesses goes almost hand in hand with the opposite end of that spectrum, which is discipline. Having that discipline to overcome that weakness, kind of shift out of that mindset, or not sure if mindset is the right word, but just that particular trait that develops something something that I think about, which essentially has to do with something to think about in conjuncture with the exercise that we started off today's video with, is how we are spending our time, how we're spending our free time. What does it look like in your life once all of your basic and financial needs are met? Are you working for your goals? Are you putting yourself out there one little bit at a time? It's kind of funny because it makes me think of like a musician or a band or something like that, and someone just starting out, and there can be this mentality of like wanting to hit it big, like that one moment, right? That one moment in time and in history, in that individual or in that group of individuals' lives, where they just go all out, they put everything on the table. It is, they go to the max, and that, that's the dream. They want to be able to give it their all, and then they want the results to show for it. And the other example I have is the job I have, the serving job I have. I've gotten that. I've gotten those sort of, or at least from one other that I can think of, that they become upset when they provide the best service they can. They do their best. They really give it their all, like all or nothing. which, don't get me wrong, is not bad at all. It can be very beneficial, but if you then maybe the results don't exactly play out how you'd like, not as good, or for this example, for serving, maybe not as good of a tip, maybe not, not as much as they would like, which something like that really is, in my opinion, is just having that, maybe a realization that the results won't be the same every time with that example. And I mean, maybe even very much the case with musicians, artists, things of that nature. Now, obviously nowadays we have computers, cameras, audio recording equipment, microphones, and we have, those of us that make it our goals to do these things, to get out there and to produce and solidify their content, right? That is one of the things that I'm most excited about, for not only for this series, but just for all the other content that I'm able to do on the road. Kind of the way I envision it is solidifying this content enough, again, to sort of segue into the other content that I want to do, and hopefully by that point I will have done my research and have more resources at my disposal to actually follow through and carry out these things, but in a much better manner for you, the viewer, much more entertaining, informative. So all very exciting. And again, going back to discipline, speaking for myself, to be able to pull myself out of this stage, this mentality, this, trait, mindset, all these words, right? Pull myself from this state in my life and to get to the next state, the next stage, the next chapter, right? Chapter in a book. It will require a substantial amount of discipline. I was watching some other videos here on YouTube, and I do have a few books that I'd like to read that I believe, I hopefully will help me to be able to discipline myself better as well. So what does that look like? What does that look like in your life? Discipline. Is it small? Is it this great feat? Is it completely severing a connection of something that is keeping you from being disciplined, keeping you from reaching these goals? Essentially, it is, the process of, especially in this, the way that they referred to it in one of the last videos I watched was overcoming barriers. Another word that came to mind for me was excuses, which I think I'd probably mention too. What excuses are being made? Maybe it just comes in the form of either having a general sense of responsibility or having this sort of lack of responsibility, that you just feel like you want to be free, right? That's kind of the thing. Like, if you want freedom so much in your own life to the point where you don't want to have to be responsible to anyone else, or even you don't want to set goals for yourself that imply a sense of responsibility, which is very interesting to me, because even on the individual level, I believe that, going back to the exercise, after all of your basic needs are met, and then you might feel like, wow, what do I do now? Like, I don't know, maybe I just want to relax, right? Because I do work full time. I do work, and I have to put up with my boss and my coworkers, or whatever it may be. And yes, I do want to just come home and relax, put on the TV, go to the computer, do some YouTube, do some games, relax, which is fine. Absolutely set time aside for yourself to wind down, but just be very mindful about that, and how it's affecting you in your day-to-day routine. And again, you kind of, for those that do have goals, bigger ambitious goals. I was speaking with somebody the other day, and that was the word they used to describe me. I would actually like to make a complete video on on ambition, and maybe that, kind of, again, like what that looks like in the spectrum of things. Someone that on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, if ambition's over here, is someone who is content and or can be content in more of a simple kind of living manner, which again, this is not me saying any one thing is right or wrong. It's just me making observations about my life and what I also see in those around me, as well as other feedback that maybe I receive, or I see someone else getting some observation that is made about them, or what they are showing in their personality as well. It's all very interesting. But yeah, so there might be, complete end of the spectrum to where you have this super ambitious person on this end who just they're shooting for the stars. They got their head in the clouds. They're big dreamer, big goals, and they need to find ways to make it happen. Those types of people, can be very, very successful. One note, again, trying to be, realistic in terms of what that looks like for them. It's not a ride in the park, right? In one sense, if you wanted to think about it this way, kind of talking about what responsibility each individual holds in their own circle, on their own level, I guess, their own version of responsibility. What does that look like? It could very well be those two completely different types of people. To the one where, they don't want to have such a great sense of responsibility, or they don't have that great of a sense of responsibility, just because they haven't cultivated it. They haven't been around people that have enforced that, or found it important, found value in that. What does that look like? How does that person go about within the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, the rest of their life? What does their life look like? How much do they accomplish? And I mean, they always say, you're going to hear, don't compare yourself to others, which is fine. I would say that's a fine argument to make. You don't always know everything that's going on, especially when it comes to just like, maybe you're on Facebook or something like that, social media, you're scrolling and you see the success of others. How does that make you feel? Like I've felt that in my life. I think that's probably been something that's kept me from really being more open and being more, more sociable in the past. I think that's contributed to my behavior on that note, in a sense. And also just, speaking from experience, I would love to be able to actually say, when you're in a social environment, I feel like everybody wants this to some extent. Some people don't care as much, and on that note too, it's absolutely better to not care so much what's going on around you, what others are doing on around you. If I was able to perfect that in my own life, who knows what I could accomplish. If I am able to do this in a more consistent manner, to where I'm just producing and pumping out as much content as I can, no matter how drab it may be at first, right? No matter how boring or uninformative it may be to start, if I can just kind of gradually work my way toward producing content that is more structured and better, and then that will benefit me in learning how to do that, and then of course, right, in turn, it'll benefit you, the viewers, hopefully in some way. So kind of going back, continuing on with the list for this, is your fear of not doing should be greater than your fear of doing it. You should have a much, and now I'm speaking to those who are in a similar place as me, where you've lived your life in a relatively normal sense. You've worked jobs, you've paid bills. You've at least had that sense of responsibility developed up to now, this point. And then it gets to the point where you start to question, what do I do now? What do I do with my life, right? Which I feel like, probably everybody's felt that a little bit at some point in their life. You should have a much greater fear of not going and doing the things that you want to do toward your goals. Again, provided that they're, healthy, wholesome, productive goals that actually contribute to some part of humanity, some part of the world in some way, in a positive manner, right? In a more progressive manner. The fear that you have the fear that you may feel of going and doing, maybe it might even produce like just enormous levels of anxiety for you, right? You might just feel like super pressured because of that anxiety. So that if it does get to that point, I highly advise you seek out professional help and perhaps speak with a professional. Go to a therapist or something. Ask your doctor who are some good therapists in your area, or for those of you that are comfortable and have the confidence to seek out online therapeutic help. That could also be a potential resource for you as well. All in all, if you're psyching yourself out because of the fear of doing it is greater than the fear of not doing it, then you need to try to address that as soon as possible. And again, hopefully you're able to get some sort of professional assistance with that. And speaking from my own experience, it's never been, I don't consider it as like a form of fear as much as I do just kind of, as we said before, a general sense of responsibility. If I'm saying I want to do this in this type of manner that is constant, it's continuous, it's prolonged in a way that is like, that's me feeling, in a way it's there tends to be a sense of like pressure and a sense of kind of obligation that comes with that. Me setting a goal, and then of course, what do you need to do? Like, get up and do it. Trying to have the most healthy approach about all of this, not overthinking it too much, but also being realistic and I want to be aware and I'd like to be able to analyze at least on my part my own behavior, my own mannerisms, and be able to actually address that and move forward and move forward in a productive manner. The next on the list is prioritizing your goals over the temporary comforts and pleasures that you become accustomed to in your life. And even on that note too, just saying that word, accustomed to it, you're used to it, it's normal for you. We in the Western world, we have technology, we have social media, we can scroll for days, right? What do they call it? The death scroll, I think, could be potentially killing your dreams. Not being mindful of how you're spending your free time and getting into potential routines of the dopamine fix, right? No matter what that is, if it comes in the form of a vice or an addiction, or if it is in the form of an addiction, that's the extreme, right? That's where you need to preferably address it as soon as you can in the most healthy, realistic, financially way possible, so that you can move forward, get past that, and get into the things that you want to do that are more worthwhile, that are going to benefit you tremendously down the road. And of course, everything I'm saying in these videos, I'm absolutely saying to myself as well. If there ever is an instant where I sound contradictory, or maybe like contradicting myself or anything like that, please let me know in the most respectful way possible. The power you possess is feedback. Very important, very important. But yeah, prioritizing the little things that you're doing to work toward your goals over going out with friends for a couple beers, going to the going partying, go to the club, or whatever form that takes in your life. Maybe just cutting back on the little extra things you take home. Go to the grocery store, you might pick up a couple little extra things, impulse buy, right? Just to kind of have something nice. And I think probably what might be a good start is just making it like a weekend thing. That's actually something I've started incorporating in my life, to cut it out during the week, and only do it like if I did want to go and have a drink or something like that, then or whatever, go out with friends, go out with coworkers, something like that. That will be something that I do on the weekends that I will not do throughout the week, to save money, help me be more focused and actually do things that are pushing me in this direction that I want to go, and just overall be healthier, no matter what it is, drinking, eating, anything, and whatever you're consuming, whether that's physically, food and drink, or mentally, what you're consuming as well. And even just talking about it in that kind of manner, just ask yourself, especially with this right now, if you're one of the viewers watching my videos, what type of content are you consuming? I've been asking myself that a lot lately, and I'm very much trying to be as mindful of that as possible, keeping my my entertainment toward like some of the content that I consume that is in the entertainment realm. Some of the gaming content that I enjoy, I might keep that to a bare minimum toward the end of the night before I go to bed or something like that. That way I know that I have an hour, 2 hours, whatever, for some more entertaining content that I can watch on YouTube before I go to bed. That way I know, like, once it's off, I'm actively in bed trying to go to sleep and thinking about the next day, how I'm going to be productive in that next day. So that's what's been going through my mind, at least over the weekend, trying to figure out how I'm going to make it work so that I'm actively pursuing this and making it consistent as well. So the next is choose your responsibility and sacrifices. This more applies to individuals like myself who don't have kids, don't have immediate, dependence, anything like that. But it could still apply to those who are more family type individuals, those who do have people to take care of. Mostly, there's those of us who have grown up in that kind of family sense, who have developed that kind of responsibility sense to their family members, and then perhaps time goes on and things. Well, really, what it comes down to is just people going their separate ways, living their separate lives. But even those who haven't had the upbringing that I had in that kind of family sense, can still at some point in their life might feel like they are developing this sense of responsibility, especially someone who has had a rougher childhood. Maybe there were more instances where they felt alone, and actually were alone, but they were able to get out. Hopefully they were able to get out of that in some positive manner, or they were able to gain some kind of positive insight about that. Maybe they ended up getting, landing a good career or going towards something that they wanted and ended up getting it. Now they're, possibly doing good, making decent money in a good career that they enjoy. That's been, well, I guess speaking from experience, that's been my, that's something that I've lacked when it comes to working jobs, working careers. I've never felt any kind of responsibility toward any job or any position I've really held. It's, even what's the management positions I've held, which were longer term, I'd worked for a couple of years. It still never felt like I actually felt responsible. Now, in the workplace, when I'm on the job, absolutely. But in a general sense, for what I want to do with my life or the things that I want in my life, not so much. But for those of us that do have, maybe this would be considered a privilege, but for those of us that are able to do this, to choose your responsibility in a way of, again, speaking from experience, essentially what I'm doing now, what I want to do now, what I'm trying to do now is develop this so that I feel more responsible for doing this. And then again, as I keep doing it, getting into some more specific content, having some hopefully better content for you as well. And then right along that with choosing your responsibility is choosing your sacrifices, which I guess what I mean by that is no matter whatever you choose, whatever choice you make and path you go down, just to be aware that you're going to be sacrificing something. One example, which may come up, other times down the road, is kind of choosing career over family. Those types of situations. For any of you that have had those moments, what does that look like? Hopefully it's something in the form of you choosing your career over starting a family, as opposed to like actually having started a family and then choosing your career after the math. It's going to might cause some friction, with your spouse and your kids, potentially, the relationships you have with them if you're not careful. So yeah, that's what I think about is for myself, me choosing to do this, or in a sense, me choosing to do whatever else I choose to do that is not this, is me sacrificing doing this. So kind of going back to the sort of, in a way, like going back to the fears topic, is your fear of not doing it should be greater than your fear of doing it, because if you don't go for your goals, you're going to live with regrets. And in those sad instances, and in any of those, for any of those family stories that have played out in that manner, to where perhaps either of the parents didn't chose to sacrifice their, maybe not career, but just their passion, and it caused them to be more resentful and regretful down the road. So that's never good. It's not good. You need to be mindful of that to be able to try to weigh your options, and hopefully try to hash it out with your spouse, or if it does reach a point to where both of you are unsure as to how to proceed, again, go get help, go to counseling, couple counseling, or anything that is going to benefit you and get you further and get you happier and healthier in your life. And then the last one is just to analyze your routine. And I'd, kind of just everything we've discussed, like, does your day tend to play out in a relatively same manner every day? What differences are there? And just being aware of, how much free time you have, how you're spending it, So yeah, and then analyze your routine and look for holes, spaces of time, or potentially spaces of procrastination, right? Times where you find yourself more likely to procrastinate, and then you can really narrow it down and say, what do I need to do about that? Do I need to, turn the computer off, turn the TV off, set the phone down, do not disturb or whatever for a few minutes while I work on this project? Do I need to remove myself from the situation? Do I need to go for a walk outside, right? To kind of clear my head. What things do I need to sort of like lessen the time or completely do away with? And then I'll have more time. At that point, the minutes add up, and then you'll be like, wow, I actually do have 30, 40, 50 minutes or an hour to, even if it maybe you'll have to break it up into segments or something like that. Again, it depends on the individual, but all in all, thank you for watching today's video. And moving forward, as this being like sort of what I would say is part 2, I have other similar related content in what I feel like I know what's going to play out for the rest of this week at least. So I'll be working on that throughout. Any thing that I can do to make my content better, please leave positive, or I say positive feedback, but I say it, leaving feedback, in the most respectful manner as possible. Remember, everybody, helpful or hurtful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.